1. So this happened last year. It was the last day of 9th grade, and I was excited to be done with middle school and for the upcoming summer holiday, which is 2 months long where I live. My friend and I get our final grades for those 3 years of middle school, and we're very happy with them, and we decide to head over to my house and chill while playing some video games on my computer. We get home to find out my parents aren't home. Cool. We eat and get ready to start playing, and then my friend has an idea. Hey, why don't we burn all of our tests for the past 3 years? I have most of mine here, and you do too. Might as well get rid of them now that we don't need them, right? Note, my friend and I are not troublemakers and never were, and I tend to stay away from stupidity as much as I can. I thought about it for a few minutes and decided, why not? It seems like a good way to end these past 3 years. We get the matchbox I found at my house, and get all of our papers and go outside. Now I live in a fairly small and narrow street. The road is only the width of a truck, and one side has houses, about 5 of them, and the other side has a field, which has been abandoned for quite some time, and used to be a strawberry field. Reminding you, this is on the 20th of June, and it's really hot outside. I live in the Middle East, won't specify a country. About 40 degrees Celsius, before the field, there are a few tall cypress trees, taller than my house. Can't recall their exact size. We find a little hole in which we can burn the papers, and it seems far enough from the dry field, and it seemed like a safe place to burn the papers in. We light them up, and for a few seconds we have fun watching them all burn. About 30 seconds pass, and some wind is blowing the fire. That is slowly getting bigger, closer and closer towards the field. We thought it was okay, so we didn't worry about it. Then suddenly a piece of paper flies from the fire and lands directly onto the pile of dry twigs on the field. I know this can get out of hand, so I run inside and grab a 2-liter bottle of water from the fridge. When I run back outside, I instantly realize it's too late. The fire is already over 3 meters tall. Sorry if you don't use the metric system. And I pour the water over it, but it does absolutely nothing. Reminding you, my friend and I are both 13 and 14, and are now in complete panic mode. There's a lot of smoke coming off the fire, and it's getting really close to those big cypress trees. And it's spreading extremely quickly. I grab more water, but again it does nothing. A car drives into the street and instantly notices the huge flames, and asks if they should call the fire department, and we tell them to do so. Neighbors are starting to come out due to the immense amount of smoke, and are starting to panic because the huge cypress trees are now on fire as well. And if they should fall, they could completely destroy their houses, including my house, which is in front of one of the trees. By the time the fire department comes over, the fire has already spread across the whole street and created a wall on the edge of the field, and has caught 5 of the 20 trees on fire. There's smoke everywhere and it's getting hard to breathe. It took them about 7 hours to completely put out the fire, and the next day they had to come over and get rid of the burnt trees and the burnt weeds on the field. My parents asked me how did the fire break out, and I told them that I had no idea. But I saw the smoke from my room's window, so my friend and I came out to see what happened. I'm pretty sure they know that I caused it though, because the only window in my house pointing towards the direction of the fire was the bathroom one, and I don't think my friend and I had any reason to be in the bathroom together. They never have told me anything about it though. But it was the scariest experience of my life, and my friend and I have kept it a secret since then. But I decided to share it with the internet. Don't mess with fire, people. It's surprising how quickly it spreads. 2. A bar near my house has a weekly jam night. A lot of respected musicians from the local scene get involved, and their ability to stand on stage and make amazing unrehearsed music with people they've seemingly never met is a thing which both amazes and intimidates me. I've played the piano since I was 6 years old, and even though a lot of people might think I was good if they saw me play, I lack the fluidity to just join in with other musicians, and freely and consistently play anything worth listening to. This is down to a combination of a lot of things, but mostly my learning style when I was young, approach to practicing, and the fact that I am essentially a hobbyist whereas they are professionals. When I go to the jam, it's to watch music, drink a beer or two, and see friends. I only ever really get up and play when there are people there who know I play, and they relentlessly blag me to join in. I think their thought process goes something like, "You do music, so there should be absolutely nothing difficult about playing a song you've never learnt with a load of complete strangers." Whereas my thought process is more like, just because someone knows how to slice a loaf of bread, you wouldn't ask them to juggle knives at the circus. Usually on such occasions I'll sit down at the keyboard. The guitarist or bassist will say something like, "Goes like this, then this, and after that just sort of, you know?" Which is the musical equivalent of trying to learn calculus by reading it off the side of a passing train. They'll set off playing something which I swear is completely different to the nano demo I've just received. I'll gradually work out which key it's in, be constantly confused about which part of the song we're in, and generally fumble my way through the track. The most recent time I got up, they were playing a song I actually know, and had played many times before as part of a band. Finally, I thought, I get to play at the jam night and give the impression that I actually belong in this group of ninjas. So we set off playing, and 3 things happen all at once. 1. I played the first chord. 2. I realized I couldn't hear the piano on stage at all. 3. I realized I had assumed we were playing the song in the same key as I had played it in before, which, as far as I know, might not even be the original key the track is recorded in. So there is a chance I was playing in the wrong key. The only thing to do was keep playing, knowing I was either killing it or murdering it. 2 things which sound similar but mean the total opposite. I couldn't really gauge from the crowd or people on stage if it was going well or not. The problem is British people are so polite that you could get on stage, take off your pants, set fire to your pubic hair, and burp Bohemian Rhapsody through a megaphone, and they do everything in their power to hide their disapproval. So we played the whole track, and I still had no clue if I did it right or not. We finished the track, and the singer, a black guy in his 40s or 50s with a thick Manchester accent, turns to me and says, "Do you know what's going on?" Shit! I screamed inside my head. It felt like a trap door opened in the bottom of my stomach. Blood rushed to my face. I didn't even respond. I just stared blankly at him, got up from the piano stool, walked off the stage and straight outside to light a cigarette. A crescendo of shame, embarrassment, self-consciousness, self-doubt and anxiety built up and up, as I plunged downwards into an infinite pit of cringe. When would I learn that jam night is best enjoyed from within the crowd rather than on the stage? When would I learn that I can't hold a candle to these absolute demons, who no doubt have some sort of deal with the devil, allowing them to play so well? I was almost completely consumed by an inferno of self-reproach, but it immediately subsided when I heard the next song come drifting out of the bar to the street outside. The band were playing "What's Going On" by Marvin Gaye. 3. This story really begins 5 years ago, when my dad passed away unexpectedly and my mom had to sell our house and move in with my grandmother. I grew up in a rather large home, and mostly everything went into my grandma's relatively small basement. We got rid of over 3 tons of stuff, but alas, we still had a lot and a storage facility wasn't an option. So Granny's basement is packed floor to ceiling, wall to wall. Now over the past 5 years, life hasn't been very kind to my family, and just getting through the daily grind was enough to justify putting off, and off, and off, and off, unpacking and decluttering. I moved home in October for the first time since 2009. Woo, millennial statistic. And decided I'd try to take it on. However, it quickly became clear that it had been made so frustratingly difficult to clean, because my grandma flat out refused to throw anything away. I mean, there's a metal box of Spring from my mom's childhood bed that she will not let me throw away. My dead grandfather's tools, fishing gear, old clothes. Nothing can leave the house. And don't get me wrong, I understand sentimental value, but there are empty boxes from appliance that this lady doesn't even throw out anymore. But what if we need it someday? Shaking my damn head. So I gave up. Boxes and clutter abound, basement is kinda damp anyway. Shit. Our family shit, her shit, the whole damn basement. Stinks like mold and mildew. F this. Now on to the next part of my FU. We live outside of town, so we have a well system. This requires a tank in the basement, which is filled with water from a hose in the basement, and then we add salt and chlorine. I don't understand why or what it does, and I don't really care. It's just one of my chores, so I do what I'm asked since I get to live here rent-free. You see where this is going. On to the TIFU. Choo-choo, motherfuckers. Full steam ahead to F my ass uptown. So yesterday, I'm heading down to my aunt's house for the night, and remember I need to go switch the laundry. While I'm down there, I notice that the water tank needs to be filled. Kill two birds with one stone, I thought. I'll just turn the hose on really low while I switch and fold the laundry. Brilliant. It was not brilliant. I ended up leaving the hose on, and it ran, and ran, and ran, and ran, for over 4 hours. I'm currently sitting in sweat-soaked clothes, mid-80s where I live, on the floor of the revoltingly filthy, and now wet with over an inch of water, basement, with a shop vac, hoping against hope that I can remedy this before everything we own has to be disposed of. I'm considering just burning the house down. 4. So about 9 years ago, when I was in my teens, I got involved in doing some amateur research on a local unsolved true crime from the previous decade. I'm a regular Nancy Drew when it comes to that sort of thing. A family friend happened to be at the scene of the crime when he was a police cadet, and so I was eager to interview him. I wanted to record our conversation so I could go back and listen to it later for reference. As I recall, I had a notion that if this guy knew he was being recorded, he might withhold some of the important information, either by choosing to or subconsciously. So I decided it was best to be surreptitious about recording him. I had no bad intentions. I just wanted the best interview possible recorded on tape, for me to go back to and refer to in my attempts of trying to crack the case. I went looking for a tape recorder in preparation for his arrival at my house. There was just one problem. I only had one that worked, and it was part of a huge karaoke machine with a microphone attached. It would have to do. I lugged it out and placed it in the next room, and to get the best sound, I stretched the microphone cord as far as it would go, hoping that the scene looked as natural as possible. If he saw it, it would appear to just be an ordinary karaoke machine sitting in the next room, with a microphone extended toward the doorway. Yeah, that was dumb. The interview went without a hitch. I was feeling pretty proud of myself, having gotten all this information, and on a tape I could play back later. There was a barely audible click as the tape reached the end. I was sure it hadn't been noticed, but not long after the guy said, ever so casually, "Your tape ran out." I attempted to play it cool and acted like I was aware he knew everything was being recorded the whole time, though no doubt there was telltale evidence to the contrary, as I flushed with embarrassment. He said no more about it. He clearly wasn't angry, just apparently amused by my childish attempt at being covert. His smugness irritated me no end at the time, though I now realize how foolish my reasoning was to begin with. I don't condone recording someone without their knowledge, at least without good reason, and if you do have a legitimately good reason, which I really didn't, use a device that isn't going to stick out like a sore thumb. 5. We all do dumb stuff when we're tired, especially when it's in the middle of the night and we need to relieve ourselves, and even more so when we're out in the deepest part of the woods on a camping trip and have an itty-bitty fear of the dark. Imagine, if you will, the tiniest of camp clearings set into the side of a mountain. One cut into a wooded slope so steep, you wonder just how far you'd roll if you took even the smallest misstep. Now imagine its darkest sin in the dead of night, with just enough moonlight to see the outlines of everything. That's what I awoke to in my tent, with nature's calling roiling in my gut. Stumbling out of my tent in PJ bottoms, gripping nothing but some toilet paper and my flashlight, I began looking around for the nearest latrine. There wasn't one. It was too steep. Not wanting to foul up our campsite, I decided to clamber up the slope a little bit and fertilize the trees above us. Keep in mind, I wasn't really thinking straight. Just a zombie with a need for the drains. I pulled myself up the slope, slipping on dead leaves all along the way. I got up about 40 feet and decided I was good. There I squatted, took care of business, made sure I was dirt-free, and sluggishly began slogging back down the slope. Something rustled behind me. It was approaching fast, running over the leaves at a rapid pace, coming straight toward me. Adrenaline cut through my foggy state in seconds, and warning signs flashed in my vision. Danger! Animal! Kill you! Run! I bolted down the hill, yelling at the top of my lungs, slipping, sliding, almost tumbling through the trees. The rustling continued after me, hot on my heels. My friend, who had been sleeping soundly, was up, and out of his tent in a flash, shining his light in my direction as I slid toward him, with my pants around my knees and screaming for help. Now the edge of our little campsite is dug into the slope, so there's a bit of a drop-off. I slid off it at high velocity, hit the ground and ended up slamming my face into the ground, breaking my goddamn nose. My friend wasn't paying attention to me though. He stood over me, the rustling abundantly clear in the night air, as he shined his light around to pick out the threat. I hunkered at his feet, crying and shivering, my nose dripping blood and mucus from where I'd busted it. Then the threat made itself known. A brown mass slid off the embankment and dropped right on top of our tent, almost caving it in. Immediately the smell followed, pungent and revolting with a hint of trail mix. Even through my busted nose, which was now clogged with blood, I got a good whiff. It slid down our tent for a good 10 seconds before flopping to the ground. My friend held his flashlight on it the entire damn time, then shined it down at me. Then he doubled over laughing, not caring about my busted nose or that he'd been so rudely awakened. After I took care to bundle my nose a bit, we began to figure out what happened. Apparently the juice I dropped on the hill possessed just the right amount of density and velocity to begin sliding down the slope and not break apart. The embankment, slick with dead leaves, afforded the perfect conditions for it to stalk me all the way back down to my campsite. I never heard the end of it. My friend called me Little Brown Sliding Hood from then on, and we had to head out early to attend to my goddamn nose. So for any campers out there, if you shit in the woods, make sure it's not on a hill. And if it is, dig a hole first. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, episode 45. Big thanks to everybody who allowed me to use and send in stories for use in this video. Right, let's see, you guys will get this on Saturday. That'll be as well into the weekend. I'm planning on having a lazy Saturday. There's a few chores and things I want to do I'll do on Sunday, but I plan on doing as little as I possibly can on Saturday. So I'm going to roll out of bed, I'll head up the street and get whatever I need for making dinner. Then I'll just basically sit on the sofa and watch YouTube and play video games until it's time for Doctor Who. That's my plan anyway. I had a busy day today with all the recording. I had lots of errands to run yesterday as well. I even baked yesterday. I made caramel shortcake, which actually turned out very well. It's one of those things that if I haven't done it for a little while, I always sit down and think, I'm going to screw this up. I know I am. So, but no, it's once you get going, it all comes back to you and it's very easy to do. Just got to make sure you don't burn the caramel. Anyway, I'm not going to yammer on for too long because we're having that weird weather right now where it is dull and it's probably going to rain, but it's also quite warm as well. At least it is for the UK. Alright, so I'm going to head off now and cool myself down. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.